Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This is awesome! This is awesome!
Hello and welcome once again to Cheap Shot Entertainment. Once again, I am your host Luke and you are the Cheap Shot Nation, and I am going to take you through everything that happened at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. It's a show that's been building up for weeks and weeks and weeks, and if you've been on the channel following my coverage of NXT UK, you will know exactly what to expect from this one. We have 5 scheduled matches in this show and 1 match that was an open challenge from Cesaro, who turned up in Cardiff. Great match that was as well. So we actually got 6 matches on this card, which is great, and it was good from start to finish. And I will say this now, and I'm not the only one who thought this, having watched both shows pretty much back to back, that NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff was actually better than AEW's All Out. But I'll leave that down to you to decide after you have watched both shows. And then you can leave us a comment on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter, mostly obviously Facebook and Twitter, and let us know what you thought of both pay-per-views, or leave us a comment in the comments section down below, of course. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to know when we upload new content to the channel. And without further ado, I'm going to take you through everything that happened at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. And so, like I said, there's 6 matches to get through, so we'll go straight into this one. Obviously, TakeOver Cardiff was from the Motorpoint Arena on the 31st of August 2019, and what a day it was for wrestling. 3 separate promotions, doing 3 separate shows in 3 separate areas of the world, 2 of them in the UK, and 1 that was coming from London, i.e. Royal Quest, led us to just watch NXT and then try and catch up with it later, because we were getting all sorts of interference. We weren't the only ones. So yeah, if you ordered that on Fight TV, go over and talk to them, get yourself some Fight Network credits to order a different show later on. Anyway, this starts with a doozy of a match. Noam Dar versus Travis Banks, a match that's been brewing up for a long time on NXT UK. So, as you can imagine, these two just wanted to kill each other, wanted to hurt each other, wanted to get the best out of each other, and so they did. Really good opening match here. Early stalemate leads to Dar crotching Banks and taking control, focusing on the arm, the storied hurt arm of Travis Banks, and the shoulder, of course, here in the early part of the match. Dar shifts his focus to the knee next as Travis Banks comes back, tries to hit the slice of heaven. This is caught into a knee bar seamlessly by Noam Dar. Banks comes back with a slice of heaven and changed into a double stomp. So Noam Dar tries to duck it. He changes in midair from the slice of heaven to the double stomp, hits Noam Dar with the double stomp to the back, and Banks flies to the outside as Noam Dar rolls to the outside and hits a disaster kick. Banks in control at this point, hits another double stomp, gets a near fall. Dar comes back and hits a drive-by kick and a Shining Wizard for the victory over Travis Banks. Now, I had Travis Banks to win this one. I was wrong. Noam Dar, obviously the new guy in NXT UK, or one of the newer experienced guys in NXT UK, picking up the victory over Travis Banks. Travis Banks finally getting his NXT UK TakeOver debut and losing subsequently. He didn't even get to his first match, and he lost the second match to Noam Dar. I don't think this is the last we've seen of these two in the squared circle, so keep your eyes open on NXT UK TV tapings for more on that. Cesaro's Open Challenge next. He did say he was going to turn up in Cardiff, and he said he may get involved. I wasn't expecting there to be a match. I was expecting him to be in the crowd and then getting involved, but a match it is, and wow, did we get one heck of a match. Dragonoff accepts the Open Challenge from Cesaro. Dragonoff, if you've not seen him, he's brilliant. He's only lost once in NXT UK in the several matches he's had. This would ultimately become his second loss to Cesaro. Cesaro gives him massive respect at the end of the match. Cesaro would control most of this match. Being as he is the Swiss cyborg, he was just phenomenal, and the main roster needs to give Cesaro a bit more. They need to use him a lot better because he is so good. I could watch this guy do his thing over and over and over. I could watch it forever because he is that damn good. So a hard-hitting opening to this match leads to Cesaro taking control and hits a big swing on Ilya Dragunov. 40 times the crowd counts. I think they got a bit ahead of themselves, probably around about the 30 mark, but wow, didn't it look good. Obviously Draganov is visibly shaken from this, but transitions seamlessly into a crossface. Draganov comes back from this and hits the 619 clothesline to give some separation between the two, gets a little bit of wind back. The dive goes coast to coast on Cesaro and takes over the match from there. A European uppercut and a neutralizer would pick up the victory for Cesaro, but both guys showing a lot of respect for each other. Cesaro tells Dragonoff something in his ear, probably saying, you know, you've got it, kid, keep going, you'll go well and go far in this company. So where does that leave Cesaro? Is he in NXT UK now? I hope he goes back to the main roster. I hope he gets something better than an Intercontinental or a US title over there, because he deserves it. He deserves to be in the main event at this point, I think, and he would be a really good opponent for Seth Rollins going forward. But yeah, another great match and another hard loss for Ilya Dragunov, but Cesaro ultimately was the better man in the squared circle, being the more technically sound and the more experienced, and using that experience edge to pick up the victory over the young Russian superstar. Next, it is the NXT UK Tag Team Championships. It is Galas, which is Wolfgang and Mark Coffey, versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, and the Grizzled young veterans featuring Liverpool's number one in Zach Gibson and James Drake. Yeah, I'm great at Liverpool accents. Chicken. Anyway, yeah, the match starts with a knee strike from after the early stalemate. The knee strike is hit by the Welsh contingent here, and a reverse Hurricane Rana by Mark Andrews, followed by a shooting star press to the outside by Mark Andrews. All of the guys are outside. Catches Mark Andrews coming in on that one, as you would expect. Another double team by the Grizzled young veterans. We see the Helter Skelter being hit, followed by a 450 splash from James Drake. I love the Grizzled young veterans. They have held the championship since January, so I think it was about time for them to drop the titles. I wanted so much for Galas to pick up these championships. They've been in there since day one. This is their first tag team championship opportunity, and the team of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster I like, but they've just sort of chucked themselves into this match. Yes, it's in Cardiff, so perhaps I should have predicted that they would win, which they ultimately did, but still I think Galas should pick up the titles. Maybe they're just transition champions, I don't know. But yeah, this is now towards the end of the match. I found myself in awe of this match because there was so much going on. Didn't make many notes, but really was a great tag team match. One of the best I've seen on NXT UK, and there's been quite a few. I mean, we're talking Imperium versus British Strong Style and other matches as well. The Scottish guys, the Galas, do hit the Glasgow send-off and a double team dive and kick power slam combination, which has won them many matches on NXT UK TV tapings. It didn't happen this time as the pinfall attempt was broken up. The match breaks down very quickly. All 6 guys are in the ring at this point, and Webster hits a Welsh destroyer, a Cardiffian destroyer, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, I'll just call it a destroyer, from a slingshot by one of the other guys. I think it was Zach Gibson who slingshotted Morgan Webster into Galas, and he hit the destroyer. Double stun dog millionaire from Mark Andrews going into the final act of this match, into a 450 senton from Morgan Webster, and the ref is then pulled out of the ring as his hand comes down for 3 by Liverpool's number 1, Zach Gibson. He knows what he's doing. Zach Gibson and James Drake hit a ticket to mayhem, and Drake takes out Galas, but Mark Andrews hits a 450 splash on Zach Gibson as he makes the cover. Webster gets the pin on Zach Gibson. Grizzled Young Veterans take the fall, and your new NXT UK Tag Team Champions are Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster, who pick up the championships in their home country of Wales. Massive pop for these two, and yeah, they ultimately deserve the win in this match. They did a lot for the match, and there were so many false finishes, it was unbelievable. I would have liked Galas to pick up the championships. I felt like they were more deserving of it, but I can see why you would want to make the Welsh contingent here very happy as they see their fellow countrymen pick up the NXT UK championships. Incidentally, I thought Eddie Dennis would be somewhere in the crowd. I didn't see him. They didn't at least show him on camera. Maybe he was backstage, I don't know. But I was a bit disappointed by just not seeing him there, you know. Just a little camera shot maybe of him in the crowd. But yeah, got new champions, NXT UK Tag Team Champions. The Grizzled Young Veterans have held those championships now for 8 months, so it's about time, and they've defended them well. Just some false finishes here and there, and obviously Imperium getting involved on various occasions for their matches. So yeah, really good match, and so far the match of the night. Although the Cesaro Draganov match was also absolutely fantastic. But the next match does trump both of those matches, because it's the last man standing match, and I'm a sucker for 2 beasts beating each other from pillar to post, and in a last man standing match they have to do that till their opponent can no longer stand, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Even when I'm watching wrestling live at shows, I love those kind of matches. They are fantastic. So it is Joe Coffey versus Dave Mastiff. These two guys, the reason this match was announced was because these two guys beat the toffee out of each other in their last match on an NXT taping. Joe Coffey injuring the ribs and the liver damage, causing liver damage to Dave Mastiff, the Bomber, and Bomber coming back and injuring Joe Coffey's ear, knocking his equilibrium off and sort of knocking him senseless, really, in that match. Both guys sort of on the floor, they're being held up, and it's like, come on, I'm going to take you, and it's like, come on, I'm going to fight you, and he's let me at him, and it's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. But it was really cool, you know. I love it, I love it, love it, I love it, love it. So this match, does it beat Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley? It is certainly very much on par. They end up battling outside of the ring. Both guys are hitting really hard, but one of the big spots happens really early on. I don't know whether this was predetermined or not, or whether the ring just broke, but it seemed that the turnbuckle came off a little bit too easy to me, and then they fixed it straight away. So I think it was a thing to make the audience gasp, and gasp they did. But obviously Joe Coffey hit hard into the turnbuckle. The turnbuckle buckled under that pressure and came off the post, and ultimately takes down Joe Coffey early on in the match. Obviously Dave Mastiff then uses that turnbuckle to beat Joe Coffey up a little bit more, and it is at this point that both guys are beating each other up. They roll to the outside, they beat each other up a bit more on the outside. Joe Coffey gets the advantage at this point and pulls out a bag of goodies from under the ring, because you never know when you're going to need a pool cue to set up a wrestling ring, do you? I mean, come on. It's very British, very British in getting the pool cues. He even had some pool balls there. I'm not even sure what they do with those, but I was interested to find out, and I never actually did. And a table he gets out. Second table coming out as well. Coffey sentoned through that table as Dave Mastiff comes back in this match, and Mastiff is then in control. Both guys then battle through the crowd. Dave Mastiff picks up two chairs, smiles at Joe Coffey, chucks one down on the floor, says, pick it up. They look at each other, they turn, they go. Either way, they turn back, both with chair in hand across chest, and boom, crash test dummies. It reminded me of the episode of Simpsons where they're having the jousting competitions with the saucepans on their head. It was that funny, but it was brilliant. I've never seen that spot done in wrestling before, and it was fantastic. I loved it. It was so funny. They then battle to, after both hitting each other and going their separate ways, they battle to the announce table, which is lower down on the staging than it would normally be. They're usually up in the rafters in one of the boxes. But they go for the announce table and the pre-show area. The Dave Mastiff hits a rolling senton on to Joe Coffey on the announce table. The table does not give under the weight of these two. They battle then onto the pre-show area, which is elevated. Great camera angle. Some people didn't like it who I was watching it with, but I thought it was a great camera angle with the lights behind them and these two shadows beating each other up. Incidentally, both guys battle and beat each other senseless to the point where they both fall through the table, similar to the Shane McMahon and Miz match from WrestleMania, and both then try and get up. But the finish to the match, referee counts up to 9. Both trying to get onto the equipment boxes, which are on wheels. Joe Coffey manages to get up, and Mastiff is almost up, and Joe Coffey kicks the box from underneath Mastiff, which leads him to fall on the floor, and Joe Coffey picks up the victory. I really love that finish. I love this whole match. I would go back quite happily and watch it again. To me, it was the match of the night, besides the main event, which we'll get to, which increased my note-taking twofold. But yeah, really, really good match. Definitely second, if not first, just for the way it was booked, for the way it was done. And like I say, I'm a sucker for two big hosses beating each other up. So there you go. That is that match, and it just wow, just what a match. And unfortunately, because of that match being as good as it was, and the crowd being well into that match, they did go a little bit flat for the women's match, which was a shame. I was talking to mates about this. I'm an avid watcher of NXT UK, and if you follow the channel, if you're subscribed to the channel, you know that I do the videos every week for NXT UK, and I was explaining as to why the women's match went the way it did, because they didn't really understand why it did. But we're on to the women's match now, and I'll explain why and what the story was with the women's match. Toni Storm, who is the NXT UK Women's Champion, picking the belt up, the shiny up from Rhea Ripley, the first ever Women's Champion in NXT UK at Blackpool TakeOver. She's going against Kaylee Ray. Now the story here, and the storied rivalry here, is that when Toni Storm came over to the UK to start wrestling, it was Kaylee Ray that took her under a wing, became like a big sister to her, looked after her. Kaylee Ray's come to NXT UK and they're playing on the heartstrings. She attacks Toni Storm straight away. She plays on the fact that she can go home and see her family, and Toni Storm can't because they are in New Zealand / Australia. She was born in New Zealand and moved to Australia when she was very young, Toni Storm, and obviously then moved to the UK to wrestle and follow her career. Toni Storm obviously has her head visibly shaken in this match. Kaylee Ray's done a really good job of the psychology behind the wrestling match, and that's how the match plays out. At one point, Toni Storm starts crying in the middle of the ring. Can't believe that her best friend, her big sister, is having this match with her, and she can't believe that it's come to this. But that's what a shiny will do. So the fight goes to the outside early on, as Storm takes out her frustration on Kaylee Ray, and you can see the frustration building. Usually Toni Storm is calm and collected. She has her head in the game at all times, but she just didn't in this match. Kaylee Ray is in the head of Toni Storm. Storm hits a Storm Zero, and this is where the match really starts becoming one of its own. Storm hits the Storm Zero. She's won many championships with that. She's won many matches. She won the Mae Young Classic 2018 with that very same move. Kaylee Ray kicks out of it, and like I say, visibly shaken, Toni Storm loses it a bit here and goes for the top rope German. Foot on the rope from Kaylee Ray. Here's the top rope German. Kaylee Ray gets the foot on the rope. Normally Toni Storm would pull their opponent into the middle of the ring and she'd be more ring aware, but she's had her head visibly shaken and dived into. Storm performs a dive to the outside on Kaylee Ray. However, Kaylee Ray gets back in the ring and gets back on top. There's a gory bomb in the middle of the ring. Toni Storm kicks out. She hits the gory bomb again onto the ropes. Toni Storm kicks out, but the third time she does not kick out. She hits the gory bomb again, and you have a new women's champion in NXT UK. First time championship contender picking up that championship. She's not had a match before. She's come in reasonably late in the NXT UK timeline, but goes for that title, and she picks up the victory pretty much straight away in her first championship match. So we now have 2 titles that have changed hands, and this match I thought was really good. One of the better women's matches that I've seen in a long time. Told a really good story, and it was the story, as I always say in wrestling, it's the story that keeps me hooked, and this story did just that, and it was really, really good. Like I say, it was a shame that the crowd went a bit flat for this one. I think all the energy had just been used up with the other matches of the tag team match and the last man standing match. They did manage to pick it up towards the end of this match, which was good, and obviously for the main event as well, which we're going to go into now. It is Walter versus Tyler Bate for the UK Championship, the WWE UK Championship. What can I say about this match? It went 30 minutes plus. They were beating each other from pillar to post. You can see the size difference. As soon as Walter walks into the ring and Tyler Bate stood there, it was like this. Walter, Tyler Bate, just so much size difference. And he uses that size difference early on in this match to gain the advantage, but Tyler Bate does use his quickness as well to avoid Walter's chops and strikes. Obviously, Walter wants to slow down the pace. He gets a headlock early on Bate. Bate, very technically sound, rolls onto his stomach, takes the pressure off, manages to escape all of Walter's advances and strikes, and hits his own strikes. So he rocks Walter with a slam in the middle of the ring. A body slam. Walter rolls out of the ring. He is visibly shaken. Walter turns the tide in a click of fingers with a power bomb, and he power bombs Bate onto the side of the ring as Bate tries to fly. Walter catches and power bomb onto the apron. Follows up with a throw to the post, which looks absolutely horrid. Tyler Bate catches his head on the post, and it looks really, really awkward. But the damage, as they say, is done. The medic comes out. Tyler Bate says, "No, I'm going to continue," and Walter continues then to pummel Tyler Bate with heavy strikes, a sleeper hold. Tyler Bate breaks out and goes for the spin, can't do it, collapses. Walter collapses on top of him, and that looks nasty. And Walter, no wasted motion from this guy. He goes straight into the crossface on Tyler Bate, wearing down the challenger, knowing that he's probably got more stamina than many of the people who he's been in the ring with recently. Walter is grinding down Tyler Bate very slowly. The crowd is still hot for Tyler Bate. They are still chanting his name. They are still getting into this match, and as the methodic punishment continues, Walter goes for another powerbomb on the apron, which is blocked, and Bate hits an exploder suplex from the apron to the floor. That spot alone looked fantastic. Tyler Bate dives, but gets chopped down to size by Walter, and straight into a Boston Crab from Walter. He changes that to a single leg crab and then transitions into a crossface. You wouldn't think someone like Walter, a guy of his size, would have so much technical prowess, but he does, and it's phenomenal. These two, like I say, such a contrast in size, but they make such good matches together. It's so good. Every time Tyler Bate gets a little bit of offense, Walter comes back and gives even more than Tyler Bate can dish out. Tyler Bate tries a suplex several times and does eventually hit the suplex on Walter, and an exchange leads to Bate hitting another exploder suplex and a jumping shooting star press on Walter, and the match still doesn't finish. Another exchange of uppercuts, and you can imagine that Walter's uppercuts are like 4 times what Tyler Bate can give out, and this gives Walter another opportunity to hit another powerbomb, and this is where Walter's size comes into play. However, the pure momentum of just picking up your guy, he goes over the top rope and hits sort of a destroyer on Walter, a bit of a sunset flip bomb onto Walter, nearly gets the pin there. Bate goes to the top and Walter rolls to the apron. Walter meets his opponent on the top rope here, and Bate looks to try and suplex the champion to the outside. Now this would take a massive feat of strength, and Walter does not take any of that. Walter manages to block it and hits a massive chop. Bate goes into the ring. Walter tries to go back up on top. Bate hits a headbutt and hits a finger snap, a homage to the former champion Pete Dunne, and another exploder from the top rope on Walter. This leads to another near fall and a leg trip on Walter, followed by an ankle twist. Bate can smell victory at this point. Walter and Bate do exchange strikes again, and Bate hits bang on Walter, which rocks the big guy enough to fall on top of Tyler Bate as he lands on the floor. An exchange from the champion, and he goes back on top. He hits the flying splash. Bate kicks out. Bate picks up Walter, hits him with a spin, hits a burning hammer on Walter as he tries to get out of that airplane spin, and Walter manages to roll out of the way after the burning hammer, and Tyler Bate just cannot get enough energy together to make that cover. Bate flies and hits this one absolutely square on Walter and takes out the champion, and it's absolutely on the mark. So the champion is rocked, and a deadlift German suplex is hit by the challenger at this point. Tyler Driver 97, Walter kicks out, hits a corkscrew splash. Walter kicks out. The crowd, this gives the crowd chance to shout, "This is awesome" chant, and I can't disagree with them on this. Bate goes straight for the strikes again, and this is countered by Walter. Hits multiple times. The referee gets involved and stops Tyler Bate from beating Walter up in the corner like some kind of boxing match, and Walter hits back with one chop, takes down the challenger, and transitions again into a sleeper, which Tyler Bate breaks. He hits another sleeper, gets the leg grapevine around Tyler Bate, around the challenger, and he hits the body scissors as well. So he's got him all tied up. Final sequence now. I am tired talking about this match, but it was so good. I've had to watch this match twice so I could get all of this down. Sleeper on the apron. There's an attempt. Half Nelson suplex, German suplex on to the apron. Splash again from Walter on the inside of the ring, in the middle of the ring. You've never seen a big guy fly. Watch Walter. He nails this one. Bate is in the middle of the ring. I mean, front and centre. Walter just hits this perfectly. Splash. Bate is still alive. Powerbomb again. Bate is still alive. But after one clothesline, turns Tyler Bate inside out. He cannot answer the 3 count this time. He has been worn down so much that he just doesn't have any energy left, and Walter goes away, still your WWE UK champion from TakeOver Cardiff. And so that is everything that happened at NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff. I thought this show, in a nutshell, was better than AEW's All Out. AEW All Out was really good. NXT, I thought, from start to finish, was just that little bit better. It was more, it was tighter. There was no botched moves, for example, and obviously the wrestlers know each other a little bit better in order to make that happen. The last match just put it through the roof. The last man standing match was fabulous. The tag team match was brilliant, and the Cesaro Open Challenge was also fantastic, and a nice little surprise for anybody who's watching. Incidentally, there was no broken streams in this pay-per-view, in this showing on the network. However, the broken streams kept on coming for AEW, again not their fault, and for New Japan, again not their fault. But that didn't take away from them pay-per-views, their respective pay-per-views. I still think this was the best pay-per-view of the night on the 31st of August 2019, and there was a lot of wrestling to compare that to. Really, really good show. I would give this 4.5 stars. A little bit flat for the women's match. It was a short match but told a really good story. I think they could have been given a bit more time to tell a better story. The Noam Dar Travis Banks match was decent. It was a great opener, but that was overshadowed a lot by the preceding matches that did come after it. And like I say, the Open Challenge was fantastic as well. So yeah, a little bit better than AEW in my opinion, and I wasn't the only one who thought that on the night. So yeah, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars for NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff on the 31st of the 8th 2019 at the Motorpoint Arena in Cardiff, Wales. So yeah, that is everything that happened. We hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've been given insight into, again, what happened and why it happened and all that. Good watcher of NXT UK. I like NXT as well. Pretty much the only WWE I watch on a regular basis on the network, because you can't get Raw and SmackDown. So, you know, this is what I do, and that's as independent as you're going to get with WWE. So yeah, really enjoyed this show. I'd suggest you go and watch it on the network, hashtag 999, and yeah, join us again for more wrestling chaos on this channel. You have been the Cheap Shot Nation. I have been your host, Luke. Don't forget to join us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Consider going over to the blogspot at blogspot.com. It's cheapshotentertainment.blogspot.com, almost forgot, and clicking the link to the t-shirt store and buying some merchandise as well. So yeah, again, really enjoyed this one. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, click that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to know when we upload new content to the channel. We're growing even further. We're nearly at 215 subscribers now, and that is down to you, the Cheap Shot Nation. So we say thank you once again, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.